an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Veronica Mars, Season 3, Episode 1, Welcome Wagon. In this episode, Veronica has started college, and there is still a whole lot of baggage from last season that is carrying over. Both she and her boyfriend wind up trying to console somebody who is in very bad shape and in tears at the end of the episode. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Agnes for commissioning this episode. So it has been a minute, right? I'm trying to remember what, like the last Veronica Mars, I think might have been like a month and a half ago at this point. And I'm going to go check and make sure and see when the next one is. So what's today? This is season 3. Yeah, so the last one was, January 7th. Even longer than I thought. The next episode is on the 31st of this month. But after that, there has not been another one commissioned according to the spreadsheet. And I am booked up now, I think, until June. So, yeah, second week of June. So after this next one, there won't be another one for 3 months. So, y'all, gonna have to wait, and I'm sorry. But I just wanted to let y'all know, because I know that there are probably some people out there who are not aware that break is that long. Yeah, I think that there was a fallout with me and some of the people who had been commissioning this show. And so they all bailed from Unspoiled. And that is part of why it has been having a lot slower momentum than it was in the first season. But, hashtag no regrets, bye. So, all right, let's talk about this episode. This was a bit of a surprise that I should have seen coming. I had mentioned last season how surprised I was that we have this storyline with the rapist that doesn't get resolved. And I was kind of impressed by that because, you know, campus rape is a real problem. It is something that is hushed up by universities. Universities do not deal with it. And I don't really expect for something like that to be handled within one episode, but I also am okay with a show like this deciding that they're going to handle it that way, because that is the way the show tends to work, right? That there is going to be a villain of the week that we need to pin down, but then we'll also have the ongoing bigger mystery going on in the background. So I just kind of figured that was what the rape storyline was going to be. And while I didn't love that, I was like, that's, you know, what are you going to do? It's good danger of doing this kind of show. But then they didn't resolve it. We did not catch who did it. And I was actually kind of impressed. And I even mentioned, I think, in the finale that, like, I thought we might come back around and deal with that again. And then we didn't. And the reason I think I didn't expect this to come up again in season 3 was because I'm pretty sure Veronica was trying really hard to get out of Neptune for college. And I think that when she decides to go to the sentencing for Aaron Eccles, and she leaves in the middle of that test, that is her agreeing tacitly that she will stay because she's not going to get the scholarship, which would pay for her to go to a more prestigious school. I know they've talked about what school she wanted to go to, and I'm sorry, I can't remember. But I remember being like horrified that she was willing to leave in the middle of the test because the scholarship had seemed to mean everything to her, and that sentencing would wait. She would find out what had happened, you know. But now I realize they can't have her leave. They need her to stay in Neptune. They need the familiar cast of characters that we know to still be around. So giving her a reason to bail on the scholarship rather than having her just lose the scholarship is at least a slightly more empowering move for her. You know, it's not that she just like fucked up or somebody else beat her or whatever. She actively chose to stay instead. And that makes sense. You know, I just didn't really like think through to the ends of the consequences. Megan's asking if we're going to hit the cutoff. I won't do the cutoff for Veronica Mars. This is like the very first show that anybody ever commissioned, I think. Maybe not. Maybe the Parable of the Talents or Parable of the Sower was the first one. But I will suspend the rules for this show. But yeah, I just wanted to alert you all because I remembered when I checked on the Spoil Me, I was like, oh, wow, we're coming up to the end. And then I realized like, oh, no, that's just the second episode of the third season. And I know that there's a fourth season that came out like this past year, right? I think. Is that the last season? The fourth one was that just kind of like a last hurrah, or are they going to be continuing the show even into a fifth season? Rachel says that was the last one. Okay. Okay, cool. There's a movie after season 3. Oh, interesting. Okay. So the very, very immediate start of this episode, the camera is panning over Veronica on campus. It's orientation. You can see all of the like, sorry guys, my throat. You can see all of the like, those like pavilion tents that they put up when they have like, areas for signups for different things. They'll probably have like areas for rush, you know, for getting into different sororities and fraternities, and they'll have stuff for like different community organizations and whatnot. But it pans over her and then over a huge banner for Take Back the Night, Rally Against Violence Towards Women, Johnson Lawn, All Are Welcome, Let's Stand United. And we see Veronica going to her very first class of the year. And it seems like she doesn't seem particularly nervous. She's just thinking to herself how she should be maybe making an effort to make less enemies this year, which pretty quickly does go up in flames. But it's okay. So we have our intro to criminology class, and this professor is, I guess, a 90s hottie. And I know that this is in the early 2000s. I stand by what I said. He feels like a 90s hottie. He is just so, guys, did y'all have one of these professors who was like, you know, the younger, hotter one? We had one at Carnegie Mellon. He was the English professor. And I will never forget, he did this thing where he wore 2 shirts, 2 button-up shirts. The underneath shirt was patterned, like a plaid or a stripe or something. And the overshirt was plain. And he would then roll up the sleeves really strategically on each arm so that the pattern was like on the cuff. And he had like one of the collars like kind of popped and the other one was down. And my best friend in that class, he had been in high school with me. His name was Ace. And Ace just hated him so much because he felt like the guy was so like affected. You know, like just he tried to behave as if it was just like a casual, I just, I roll my sleeves up sometimes because, it gets hot in here. And it was obviously such a like carefully thought out every day. My 2 shirts, which ones are they going to be? And he wasn't even that hot. It was just that he was younger and he was in like decent shape. So he wound up being kind of like the default hot professor. But I just really enjoyed watching the different reactions to that people had to him, because some of the girls were just like, ooh, and I even was kind of like, he's not bad, like I'm not mad at it. I'll sit and watch this cute guy. It's fine. But the dudes were all just like, ugh, whatever. And I was like, man, y'all don't even know. Like, there are so many hot female teachers that you have to like listen to dudes talk about when you're in high school. And they had never really run into the experience of there being a hot male teacher before. And they did not cope with it particularly well. So anyway, this dude is going to be he's doing their intro to criminology class for them. And he also does a class on profiling. And that is something that they would be taking later on in a different year, later semester or something. And he has a kind of student like intern or I don't know, like assistant professor. I don't know what you would call this kid, who is the one that sets up this like murder mystery exercise that they're doing. And it's something that comes in like one of those like box games. TA. Thank you, Rachel. And guys, this dude had better be wearing a wig. That is the only excuse for this fucking hair. It is distractingly bad. Every single time the camera is anywhere near him, he looks like he's wearing the wig of a mom on a sitcom, like that short, practical, kind of feathery. It's almost like he has the Rachel, but shorter. It is way too much. I can't. If this is his real hair, somebody should have talked to him about it. Somebody should have done something. Because it's like, it doesn't even match because he's got facial hair and like the color matches. But overall, they just don't look like they go together. One of them looks like they are a glue-on, and it's not the beard. So it also turns out that Professor Landry wrote a book, and that is one of the things that they would be studying if they were taking his profiling course. And this comes to Veronica's attention a little bit later on in somebody's room. So long story short, they're doing this big exercise, and Veronica like checks out the name of this murder on the Riverboat Queen. And she is able to find out that this was like a game, and she gets a bunch of information online that she doesn't like. Basically, everybody else is walking around playing the game, talking to people in the spirit of how the game is played. Veronica's just like, let me go and find the scripts and work it out in my own time, so I don't have to listen to each of these people fumble through talking about the information that they were given to talk about. And while a part of me is like, that's not in the spirit of the game, another part of me is like, Intro to Criminology for Veronica Mars is like somebody like me taking an intro to like social media, like, come on, so I'm not mad at her. And Tim, that's his name, Mr. Hare. He is the one that's really irritated at the fact that she solves this without actually like really playing. He says something about how she's not allowed to use the internet, and she asks if that was really a rule, to which the professor's like, fair enough. No, it wasn't. And Tim seems mad because she broke his record. His record had been 16 minutes. She does it in 6 minutes, and she can't help but rub it in and ask, what were you doing for the other 6 minutes at the end of it? Veronica, ma'am, she didn't need to do that. It's fine. I'm not mad. I just spat. God. So anyway, yeah, she winds up solving it, and he's like all smug too, because he thinks that he caught her like kind of dicking around because she's reading her magazine. So I do understand the urge to really show him up after he behaved that way. Yeah, that's a real temptation. So then we go to her and Logan, and I guess they are just still together. I wasn't really thinking about what would happen to their relationship after everything else that had gone on. As a grown-up now, I look at this and I'm like, this is such a bad idea. And it's not even that Logan's a bad guy. I mean, I don't love Logan. He's done some really highly questionable shit. But, you know, he's also a child. I do think, though, that they have reached a point where the dude has gone through so much trauma that part of me is like, he shouldn't be with anybody. Homie needs to find some time alone to just deal with his shit and go to therapy. But here we are. So it turns out that he saw Dick Casablancas on campus. And it's a really weird moment of like the realizing that the chickens are going to come home to roost. This horrible moment with Casey. I'm going to try and call him Casey instead of calling him Beaver. This really horrible moment with Casey is not going to just like fall by the wayside. Cassidy. Thank you. Oh my God. Everybody is just texting me nonstop today. Sorry. It's Owen's grandmother again. To be fair, she is trying to get me toilet paper. So I can't be too mad at her because she's out there in these streets taking one for the team. But yeah, so anyway, guys, if you're listening to this way in the future, you may have forgotten that toilet paper was once like gold in these here hills. Cassidy jumping off the fucking building and killing himself in front of poor Logan has just seen too much, man. Understandably, Logan feels responsible. And I don't say understandably because he is responsible. I mean, no. We all know how I feel about that reveal last season. I really did not like it. I still have a like kind of an icky feeling for having participated in it, to be honest. Between this and the Magicians both doing the thing where somebody who was molested turns into like a lunatic supervillain, I am really over it. But Cassidy made the choice and decided to kill, like, not only fucking Goodman, but he was fine with apparently killing Veronica's father too. It was a disaster. And apparently Logan and Dick are not on particularly good terms now. He says that when Dick saw him, he just gave him the finger. So I guess Dick seems to hold him responsible as well. It's like, I can't really tell if it's that he holds him responsible or if he just has shame, because like, that's kind of an unavoidable thing, right? Whether you were directly responsible for what somebody who's as close to you as a sibling did, you're still going to feel kind of like sullied by that, right? You like, it's a multitude of things going on too, especially with Cassidy, because, Megan says, I hated that so much. That's why I didn't commission any of season 2. Yeah, that's fair. I was not impressed. I will say that. There was somebody on Twitter who tagged the actor, who played Cassidy and says something about how like his turning into a villain was one of their favorite moments in the second season. And the actor replied, and like with like devil emojis, like smile devil emojis. And I felt really bad because like the actor replying is a dope thing, but I couldn't in good conscience respond because I thought it was such a garbage move on the part of the script that I didn't want to like lie and be like, yeah, that was great. So I just kept quiet. But with Cassidy having been not only out here killing people, multiple people, including fellow victims, which is really particularly heinous, but also he was being molested and Dick and the rest of his family had no idea. I could see Dick being a bit ashamed, like he should have known something was going on. The tough thing is, I don't know enough about who Dick is as a person beyond the fact that he is a super gross, like, rapey high school student with way too much money who gets away with everything. So I don't know if he had that kind of thought, if he should have known something was going on, if he is like feeling as if he should have done more. Does Dick Casablancas feel shame? That's the real question. And based on the end of the episode where he shows up at Logan's door, I think yes, but I don't even know what that was about. You know, he says something to him like, I really messed up. And I have no idea what he's talking about. Is he talking about I messed up with my brother? Is he talking about, like, is it supposed to be implying that he's the rapist? I don't think so, because the rapist was like on campus already. And as far as I know, Dick hasn't been involved with, you know, the fraternities and stuff, but maybe he was. I just really don't have a good sense of Dick Casablancas' capacity for shame or regret or self-awareness in general. So that's where I'm at with that and still sort of trying to figure it out. So evidently people thought that he was just going to like kind of go and hide out with his dad in, I think he said the Cayman Islands. And eventually, I guess Dick decided to come back and go to school, and his mother was like in a relationship with Arnold Schwarzenegger's like campaign manager or something. I don't even remember how this went, but yeah, he is again in a position of extreme privilege where he didn't even have to like apply, or if he did, it was like a formality, and he just gets to get into the school that he wants to go to. So yeah, he is here even though nobody really expected him to be. And this winds up coming up very shortly. We will talk about it. But first, let's talk about fucking Vinny showing up at Keith's office. Is anybody else a tiny bit mad that Keith didn't figure out exactly what the fuck Vinny was doing right there? Tell me I wasn't the only one. Come on. You guys all thought of it too, right? All that Vinny and Veronica do is try and bug each other. That's it. That's like every time they interact, they're trying to put a fucking bug somewhere. The minute that he started like going through the briefcase, I was like, yeah, buddy, okay. And I thought Keith would check it. He doesn't. Now, granted, he doesn't. And it turns out to be a good thing because I think that's going to wind up saving his ass. However, I do think that he would have found it. I would have liked it, for example, if Vinny had double bugged him the way that Veronica did that one time. So she puts one bug where he will definitely find it, and then another bug somewhere that he won't notice it. And that way he thinks he found it and he gets all like complacent. But it would have probably taken too much time to do that. It was just one of those moments where I was like watching it, like he definitely put something in your bag. You're going to check your bag. You're going to check your bag. And then he doesn't, but it winds up working out, I think. By the end of the episode, I'm not positive on that, but it's my guess. So yeah. Oh, also, I wanted to mention too, I forgot about this, that the opening song is different. Seasons 1 and 2, it's a very particular like beat. But it's the same song. It's just for season 3, it's like significantly slowed down and has like a little bit more of like a sinister sort of sound to it. And the way that this season is filmed has a little bit more of like a noir tone than other seasons have. I'm not sure if that, like, my gut is telling me they decided that now Veronica is no longer in high school, that maybe there's like they can go for a different vibe now. But, oh, Megan says it was on a different network. Interesting. Okay. Because I know some shows switch networks. Do they always switch openings and stuff when they switch networks? Or is that like sort of sometimes yes, sometimes no? I don't love the new version of the song, though. I miss the old one, I have to say. However, that's like one of those things that sometimes those of you who watch The Wire know that they'll use that song Way Down in the Hole every season, but it's a different version. And for me, the very first seasons is the superior version. And after that, they all just sound real weird to me. So I think there's a part that's just like, just get used to what you heard first. So anyway, yeah, Vinny comes in, tries to like say that he wants Keith's help on a case, does this in this way that I'm like, you knew he wasn't going to agree with you, and just wants an opportunity to plant this here. Evidently, the theory is that he is working for Leo. Now, I confess to you all, when Keith is like looking through the bag and he says something like, please tell me you're not working for Leo. No memory of who this is. Is Leo one of the Fitzpatricks? Am I supposed to know who he is? Or maybe I'm not supposed to know who he is yet. And that was just Keith talking to himself. There's a lot about all of this that I don't get yet. But we will get there. Okay. So he puts the thing in there. We have the looking through the photos of the trip to New York with, Veronica, where it turns out that Keith showed up in New York 3 days late. So she went on without him to New York, which is pretty dope. Like, I saw the end with her alone in the airport and I was like, is she just not going to go on this trip? That sucks. But she just like went on without him, and he eventually met her there. And I was like, all right, yeah, okay, that makes sense. She's old enough to go by herself. They probably had like the hotel booked and everything. Like, yeah. I don't know if she is aware of what held him up. Like, I don't know how much he told her. I'm sure that he told her that it was like an unavoidable work thing, and I'm sure she believes him. But as far as him continuing to be involved with something nefarious with Kendall, I don't know if she has any idea that's, going on. Regardless, the dynamic between the two of them still makes me really happy. I really enjoy the closeness of the two of them. And at one point he says something about how he hates her, and she says, you love me. And he says, I do, but it's all instinct. Anya says, isn't it Liam Fitzpatrick? Oh, maybe that's what he said. Okay. I thought I heard Leo, but Liam. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you. So she says something. There's like this little argument between the two of them about whether or not they were in front of the Chrysler Building or the Empire State Building for a photo. And that winds up coming back up later. So we have the meeting of Wallace and his roommate. And there's this really weird moment where you think the roommate's about to be like, I really didn't want a black roommate. And then it turns out that he's actually like making a joke about what if he was racist. And it's one of those where I'm just kind of like, I like you, but I got my eye on you. Like, I'm like, okay, I appreciate that it wasn't what I thought, but also be careful, buddy. Just watch your step. Just, But he is also low-key adorable and has that kind of smile that I know I would have literally fallen to the floor if he had looked at me like that when I was a teenager. So yeah, this kid is into Veronica and doesn't want to accept her help when his shit gets stolen until he meets her. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh no, yeah, no, I would love the help. And I love how Wallace is just sitting back, like watching it all happen. Like, oh yeah, you could really never turn her down now, could you? Like, Wallace fucking knows. I appreciate, for the record, Wallace has never hit on Veronica. Like, it's just not like that between them. He is totally aware of that. Doesn't seem to like be like feeling like a nice guy about it. He's not, there's no indicator that he wishes it were like that between the two of them. And thank God, I don't need that. So I do enjoy the fact that he understands, despite the fact that he is not interested, the effect that Veronica could have on other guys. And he just sits back and sort of watches that happen. That is a weird phenomenon when you are like not personally attracted to someone, but you are aware that they are seen as extremely attractive by other people. So you have this like awareness of what's going on when you watch them interact with a person. But for you, it's all purely hypothetical because it's simply not like that for you. And yeah, I liked that moment a lot. And I am hopeful that this dude doesn't turn out to be the rapist, because that would be terrible. I don't think so, though, because he's a freshman. We can pretty much, I think, guarantee that the rapist is going to be an upperclassman. We'll see. So yeah, he finds out that all of his shit was stolen, and it turns out that he left his car unlocked because somebody who claimed to be with the welcome wagon for the school said that they would watch his stuff. And he says that it was a heavyset blonde wearing like a university sweatshirt and carrying a clipboard. And it really is one of those like moments where it would be so easy to fake that, but also I get why he would fall for it, because why would you expect people to be like, honestly, if I'm stealing stuff, I wouldn't really think about going after college kids. And that's probably a stupid move, because especially freshmen are going to be bringing a lot of shit with them because they haven't learned yet that they aren't going to need it all. And they'll probably have brand new furniture or brand new computers or, you know, books that are worth like $120 each. Who knows? So it actually is a pretty good scam, but it's just one that had not occurred to me at all. So all of his shit got taken. And Veronica says that for $500, she will help him track it all down. If he doesn't get it back, then he doesn't have to pay her. So they are trying to figure out where they can get some of the, where they can get some information on who saw what went down. And they go and see the RA, who is just, oh my God, guys, this RA. He's making tea, oolong tea. He's got this fucking outfit on. Excuse me. I burp when I'm irritated. This dude is such a good, tiny character moment, especially him saying frack, because he's trying not to swear. Frack is the profanity of the future. Jesus, this dude. Anyway. So yeah, he's the one who tells them that there's no such thing as the Hearst Welcome Committee. And Veronica takes the opportunity later when they go to a concert to ask the entire crowd for information in exchange for $100. And it turns out that somebody saw something and that they thought the girl who... They give them a line about how they thought the girl who had the sweatshirt on was fat too. But then when she took the sweatshirt on, she had a slammin' bod. And it was like she was wearing a fat suit. So this winds up sending them in the wrong direction for quite a while. And eventually, simply by keeping an eye on Craigslist, Veronica Mars is able to track down exactly who stole their stuff. So it turns out, and I'm just going to jump ahead on this, guys. The dude who has the guitar to sell, he claims that he got it at a flea market for $500 because the girl had no idea what she had, and that he will let it go for $4,000. And rather than buy it back at the moment, Veronica decides that she is going to figure out who it was that stole it and get them to give them the money, and then they will go and buy it back. Now, this leads to her, because she's gone and found some other people who have fallen victim to this welcome wagon scam. And one of them is an upperclassman, a blonde girl, who Veronica, because she can't wrap her head around somebody being stupid enough to fall for this scam if they have been at this school before, Veronica immediately thinks it's that girl, that she claimed to be a victim when in fact she was the one doing the stealing. So Veronica goes and snaps her picture and tries to get a straight answer out of, I don't remember his roommate's name. What's his roommate's name, everybody? but she tries to show him the picture and see, like, does this look like it could be the girl? When, if, like, imagine that she put weight on. And he kind of, like, is distracted because him and Wallace are just standing and watching the girls sunbathing on the quad. It is really funny to me that they literally just stand and watch. They don't even do anything. Like, they have the hacky sack, like they're going to pretend they're playing that, but they're not even doing that. Men, y'all need some fucking help. Piz, thank you, Rachel. But yeah, Piz says that he doesn't think that that was her. And Veronica clearly isn't, like, completely taking his word for it, because she thinks that he's just distracted right now. But she goes back to the guy's house who had the guitar, because she's trying to continue to question him about what went down. And she sees a photo behind him and winds up sort of like distracting him so that she can take the photo with her. And it turns out that I think is his wife. But yeah, it's the heavyset blonde who has been helping him pull off these ripoffs. And the kids that fed them false information at the concert were his little henchmen. And the dude's last name is Fagin. Okay, show, calm down. Jesus Christ. It's a little on the nose. But yeah, it's fine. So yeah, he has like these underlings that are out there like pickpocketing and whatnot for him on his behalf. And it's a pretty satisfying moment. She and Piz literally set up lawn chairs and bring drinks and wait for the police to bust him. And that's part of how she gets the information, is that she is promising the cops that if they will tell her who the other victims were of this robbery bit, that she will collect what she knows and then give them the info so they can make the bust and take all of the credit. So that's how she gets the names of the other victims. And then when she's volunteering for the criminology mentorship program for her class, Mac distracts the TA so that she can go into the files, because she thinks she can volunteer to mentor somebody, and it's supposed to be like she's paired up with like an at-risk youth, and she can talk to them about what in their lives led up to them winding up being like a juvenile delinquent. And she is thinking that she can just look through the files if she volunteers for this, but the TA is going to only pair her with other girls if she does this. So she has to get him distracted so that she can look through the files for the boys. And that's where she finds all of the profiles for each of these kids that came up and talked to her at the concert. So I guess those kids are probably still out there. I don't know, like, if she decided to incriminate them or not, but the ringleader, they definitely open up his garage, and it is full of stolen shit. Tons of printers in particular, which is really funny because, like, in my day when I went to college, you did not have your own printer. Usually you would email yourself your file, and then you would go to the lab and you would print it out at the lab. And having your own printer was like a luxury. Like, nobody did that or had that, you know. But now I guess printers are way less expensive than they used to be. Hugabug says, unfortunately, there are probably a lot of people who don't even realize Fagin is a reference. Yeah, probably. It's such a like huge one in my mind, but maybe not. So she winds up getting this kid's stuff back for him, but rather than focus on how happy he is that his like priceless guitar has been returned to him, the only thing he can do is look at her and ask if that guy that he saw her with was her boyfriend. And I love the look on her face as she realizes that, like, oh God, we're doing this. Fuck. Like, I really thought we could avoid. All right, fine. We're going to have this conversation. But yeah, it's a really great moment. And I liked it personally. The moment when Piz comes up to her and they're like I guess, at the food court in school. And he tries to talk to her, not realizing, because Logan went to get a drink, that she's there with somebody. And then Logan comes back and he doesn't like get in Piz's face and be like, who the fuck are you? But he does kiss her and kind of give Piz a look like, you got that? And I always enjoy those little moments of like a little bit of territoriality between dudes. Like, what happens with the other girl, that's a whole nother story. Dick Casablancas comes and sits down and basically tries to like harass this girl into letting him move in with her, not realizing that she is there with her hulking boyfriend, who gets Dick on the floor in about 3 seconds, bleeding, and doesn't actually stop hitting him until Logan tases him. It's a pretty intense moment of humiliation for Dick. Like, he has always been the guy who really could get away with anything. And all of a sudden he's winding up being like taken down a peg by everybody around him. So I'll back it up a little bit. Let's talk about the rally about the campus rapes. So this girl who has had a shaved head. Now, note, clearly the girl who is in charge of the rally with the bullhorn, she's a black girl. She's clearly wearing like a wig, a skull cap, whatever you want to call it. The fucking glue or spirit gum or whatever it is that it's called that is attaching it to her forehead does not match her skin at all. It is embarrassing how bad this looks. Like, it was sincerely really, really distracting. Somebody, like, help. Somebody do something. There's nobody of color on the fucking makeup team that could see how, like, insane this looks. But evidently she is meant to be one of the latest victims, and she is demanding that the campus take further action. She wants them to, and this is a huge real issue. Campuses don't even want to record accusations. They don't even want to have that on their record as like rape reports. So they will frequently convince women who don't have a strong enough case to recant their report altogether. And this is a thing with cops as well. Those of you who are interested in finding out more about this, you can look up, there is a particular article that won the Pulitzer a few years ago called An Unbelievable Story of Rape by Marshall.com, I think is the name of the news outlet. But this like shutting victims down is the number one line of defense of rapists. Rapists get away with what they do for so long because they are aware people do not believe women. And they are aware it is in the best interest of especially universities to not be seen as dangerous because that looks bad for prospective students. And most universities are in the business of making money now, you know? And so they don't want that on official reports. So rapists are aware. Universities will pretend that there's not a problem. They will accuse girls of lying. They will accuse girls of either like inviting it on themselves or just try and insinuate that maybe it didn't happen that way. Maybe you got too drunk and you didn't actually resist. And in the middle of this girl talking about this, and this girl is clearly a victim, as are several others on that stage with her, this dude in a Speedo comes running up behind her while his fellow, I am guessing, fraternity brothers, I'm guessing that this is Rush and that he was dared to do this. They play All I Want to Do Is Zoom a Zoom 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 on their boombox. He runs up onto the stage behind her in the Speedo with a blow-up doll, which he pretends to dance with and or hump. And it really is like so incredibly gross. Like, this is a girl who was raped and had her head shaved, like an extra layer of humiliation on top of the violation, so that nobody will mistake. The fact that she is a victim isn't even something that she could hide if she wanted to. Everybody will know what happened, regardless of whether she wants them to or not. And for this fucking idiot, asshole, shitbag to run up on stage and play this as a joke is so unforgivable. And all of these dudes out in the audience are laughing and acting like this is no big deal. Rape culture. People try and act like it doesn't exist. Are you kidding me? It absolutely, like, I don't even know what to say to people who don't believe that. Like, you are just living in a different world. And to be honest, I kind of wish I was too. But here we are. And the girls tackle him, kick him in the nuts, yank his mask off, and it turns out to be Dick Casablancas. So, when he gets beat up at the food court later, that's the second time in just like a couple days that he has wound up getting his ass handed to him. And honestly, I don't feel bad for him. I feel a little bad when he winds up showing up at Logan's and says, I messed up real bad, and is crying. I feel a little bad in that the actor did a really good job being pathetic in that moment. He really seemed fucked up. He really seemed like somebody who had just been through a little bit too much and felt really alone. However, I don't know what he's talking about when he says he messed up. And overall, throughout all of the other seasons of this show, he has been the one that is the most rapey. And I don't really have much sympathy left in my bones for somebody like this. You know, he doesn't... Is he redeemable? Maybe. It really depends. I feel like he'd have to do an awful lot. And I wouldn't be mad at anybody who decided he was not redeemable. That's where I stand on that. I will say that another check in the I hate him column is his accidentally knocking on Mac's door. So Mac has this roommate. I don't remember her name, but this girl is a player. Parker. Thank you, Rachel. This girl is just constantly flirting. She has a new boy in her room every night. Mac is like, this is one thing that I feel really grateful I didn't have to go through. When my first year in college, I was in a multi-room apartment rather than a regular dorm room. And the person that I shared the room with was not, she didn't have a boyfriend on campus. I probably was more annoying in this respect than her, even though I only had one dude that I slept with, maybe two. And the second one he was part of a frat, so I would stay at his place mostly. But I've heard these stories of like not being able to be in your room because your roommate is in there fucking somebody. And that does seem like such a drag. What a bummer. So Mac is just frustrated because this girl, it's not even like she isn't nice. Like, Parker's perfectly nice and she seems like fun, honestly. But she's not considerate of the fact that Mac lives here too. And Mac is understandably pretty fucking traumatized over what all happened with Cassidy. Like, she really liked him. She didn't understand why he didn't want to sleep with her when she really wanted to sleep with him and was really interested in taking that step with him. And then she finds out that not only was he not interested in sleeping with her because he had some terrible trauma and it really had nothing to do with her, but also it was likely that he didn't even like her that much. You know, like, he wound up leaving her alone in that room and took all of her clothes so that she wouldn't be able to run and tell anybody. Humiliation. So Dick is knocking on the door trying to get her roommate to let him in, because we find out Dick got kicked out of school housing. And so he has nowhere to fucking sleep. Now, I am surprised that Dick doesn't have the money to find somewhere to stay. I assumed that there was still some money in his family. But I guess not. I mean, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I just really thought that he'd have been able to afford to go stay somewhere for the night. But he is just trying to get in with Parker. She's not even in her room. And when Mac opens the door, he tells Mac that Beaver didn't even care about you, you know. You were just his beard. And it's just such an unnecessarily hurtful thing to say that it really takes him down several pegs. So that at the end, when he shows up crying, it's hard for me to even care. Because I'm just like, man, you are such an asshole. And for like no reason, and many, many times too. You know, he just keeps on digging that hole for himself. Mac, meanwhile, is struggling with the fact that she, as she puts it to Veronica, is dead from the waist down. She's got this like hypersexual roommate, but she herself is not interested at all. And fucking, yeah, that's understandable. I really, really get it. And you know, that's a shitty position for her to be in because she's in college. She's supposed to be out here dating, having a good time, and she just cannot muster up the interest or the trust. And that's a pretty big deal. It kind of reminded me of like, she kind of already went through, those of you who have seen this 4th season of Buffy, I think, when she gets like kind of seduced by an upperclassman who's really cute, thinking that he is going to be her boyfriend, and she sleeps with him, and then he has no interest in ever seeing her again. And it's a total shock for her to realize that he just wanted to fuck her and that's it. And she completely misread him and thought that he cared, and he totally doesn't. And she overhears him telling this really shitty joke about how, what's the difference between toilet seats and freshman girls? A toilet seat doesn't follow you around after you've used one. And it's really like one of those moments of just gut punch when you're watching it happen. Just like the shutting down after you have gone through something like that, especially when you are very inexperienced, when you're in a whole like new chapter of your life, it's crushing, you know? I'm really lucky that I didn't kind of go through this sort of experience of feeling like I had been used. Like I was able, luckily, to like sidestep that kind of experience, whether through luck or instinct, I don't know, but I managed it. And I can't imagine how much it would have like slowed down my enjoyment of everything to have experienced that. And I just really feel bad for Mac, and I'm really glad that she's in the show this season, and I'm interested to see what happens with her. So, all right, I only have 7 minutes left. I feel like I pretty much talked about everything except for what goes on with Keith. So I am not sure what to make of this. Keith goes to pick up this dude from he gets out of prison early because of good behavior. He's talking about how Kendall is in hiding because she didn't want to give her brother as big a cut as he thought he expected. And this guy's name is Cormac, as it turns out. Evidently, Cormac and Kendall go back a bit because he says something about her being willing to do time for him. I remember that we found out something about her history last season, and I don't totally remember what it was. I know that she had like gone to prison for a scam that she was pulling. I don't remember what it was. I think it was identity theft related. And I guess Cormac was like involved in that because she refused to flip on him. And that was why she went away. If any of you feel like filling me in, because like, this is the kind of thing I have no doubt I could find out, but I'm sure I would accidentally run into spoilers. So in any case, Keith is picking him up, Cormac, to bring Cormac to Kendall because Kendall thinks that she and Cormac are like going to run away together and escape her brother, who has gotten too greedy and wanted too big a cut. That's the story that Keith has been given. And according to Kendall, it's true. I really was glad to find out that Cormac turns out to be a bad guy, though, because this dude felt incredibly fake to me. And I just thought in the moment that it was because he was a bad actor. He seemed too hearty, you know, one of those guys that's like always sort of smiling and smirking and saying things with this like, well, you know, and it just felt really false. And then when it turns out that he's like a complete fucking liar, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Good. But yeah, it turns out that they have quite a ways to go, and Keith's car winds up breaking down in the middle of nowhere. Keith says that they should walk to the next town over, and it's about 3 or 4 miles away, and get help that way. And Cormac says that he had been in the Marines and that the desert is super dangerous and that they shouldn't do. And I really was like, 3 or 4 miles is really not very far. It's the middle of the day. You'll be fine. And it makes a little bit more sense now. I think Cormac didn't want them running into too many other people who would be able to place where he was. I mean, they have the tow truck guy who does see them, but I'm assuming that the tow truck guy is not going to remember all that much and won't be like somebody that they worry about. I think that just like walking to a town, though, might have been a little bit too much danger. So because I was really just like, dude, it's not that far. Why aren't you? But yeah, Keith is, I feel, not really seeming to, he's not seeming to like the guy. It's not even that he's picking up that something's wrong with the story. That's not it at all. He just, you get the vibe that he doesn't like the dude. And this is just a job and he's trying to be a professional, but he's just like, I don't like this. So the guy asks, what did you do with your portion of the fee? Because apparently Kendall paid Keith quite a bit to be able to do this. And we find out that her dad bought her a new car after he missed the first 3 days of their vacation. He bought her a Saturn, and Piz points out that it's a Saturn for Veronica Mars, who lives in Neptune. Which, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of lots of planetary stuff happening there. So Keith gets greeted by Kendall and brought inside to have some cake and chit chat while they are, while he's delivering the goods, basically. And she asks where her man's travel papers are so that they can get out of here. And Keith says that he had left them in the car. He's going to go back and get them. And you see him like kind of pat his pockets as he realizes that he left his keys inside. And then thinks to himself, well, I think the car's open anyway, though. And sure enough, it is. So he goes into his bag. He's getting the papers out and he spots the pen that Vinny left in there. And this is when he says to himself, oh, Vinny, please tell me you're not working for Liam. He opens it up. And there's like a red, I think that's supposed to be a microphone. I don't know. It might also be a tracker. If it's a tracker, so much the better. But who knows? So he's looking at this and thinking that that's going to be the problem. And then he thinks that maybe he should defend himself. So he goes into his glove box to pull out his gun. Except the gun is not there. And all of a sudden, he starts to realize that shit isn't what he thought. And he goes sprinting back to the house, not soon enough. Just as he opens the door, he hears the gunshots, and he looks up to see Cormac apparently shooting Kendall to death. Now, we don't know Kendall's dead. She's off camera when he's firing the shots. But it's a very measured, calm-looking stance that he's got when he takes the shots. I'm willing to bet she didn't see, like, I'm willing to bet she had her back to him, that she wasn't like trying to dodge or run or anything. I don't think she had any idea. He turns and immediately tries to shoot Keith. And honestly, guys, there's this moment where he takes a shot. There's a little bit of like CGI flame when he takes the shot. And like, I know there's usually, excuse me. I know there's usually like a bit of a flame moment with a gun, like not a flame, but like there's usually a little bit of a spark. But when he takes the shot at Keith, there is a fucking fireball that follows Keith out the door. And I'm not kidding. It's a huge CGI fireball as Keith flings himself out the front door. I don't know whose idea it was that was necessary, but it looks ludicrous and it doesn't make any sense to me. But regardless, Keith goes sprinting outside, and we saw earlier that he was like blowing on his hands, that it's really, really chilly out. So he goes out, he falls, and he winds up sort of twisting his ankle and scrambles behind a rock to hide. And Cormac comes following him out and is just basically like, I mean, I don't need to find you. It's really, really cold out here. So all I need to do is wait, and you're going to wind up dead anyway, and I'll just find your carcass in the morning. And he said something earlier about how Kendall was a good judge of who she could trust and not. And at this point, he says, guess Kendall wasn't that great a judge of character after all. And he just looks around and seems to be very certain that he doesn't need to do anything. And wanders right back inside. And that's where we leave Keith, is like on the ground. And I don't know what to think. I really don't. Like, fuck, you know? I feel so bad because Kendall like got her second back on camera again. If she wasn't dead to begin with, I mean, this guy has all the time in the world to go back in and finish the job. So I'm assuming that was the last we saw of her. And I don't know. Oh man, I'm looking at the scene here where Dick shows up at Logan's front door, and man, he really does look rough. The crying and everything. It's very sincere. So the very, very last scene is Veronica came home with Mac. She had a couple of Irish coffees, not realizing that they actually had booze. She thought they had just like Irish coffee shots, like flavor shots in them. So she's drunk, and Mac is like, you should not drive home. Stay in my room. We have a couch. A fucking dorm room that has a couch in it is unlikely, but it's possible. They pass out. In the morning, they are woken up by screaming. And it turns out that her roommate had her head shaved. And the thing is, like, they came in last night to get the tickets to the movie. And Veronica came in and saw them, like, her having sex with somebody. I don't know if that was the rape or if she was hooking up with somebody and then she went out and came home with somebody else, or what happened. But I would have thought Veronica would have been able to tell. Maybe she had been drugged, though. That's definitely possible. So Veronica just saw bodies moving, but she wasn't able to, like, you know, because the girl wasn't making noises or fighting back because she was drugged. Veronica just assumed that she was consenting and it was fine. But I feel like that's got to fuck Veronica up later to realize that, like, she walked in and maybe could have stopped it from happening, but didn't because she was trying to mind her own business, which of course she would, you know? But yeah, so this poor roommate had this happen, and I feel really bad because we all know where this is going. This girl is going to get blamed for her own rape because she was hooking up with a lot of different guys, and nobody is going to have sympathy for her, and it's going to be fucking terrible. And I am not looking forward to this at all. But here we go. Oh, thank you. Rachel says that she booked another episode for the 31st. Thank you. So yeah, that'll be good. Be able to do that. Guys, I don't know, man, this season's kind of starting off with a bang. I am worried about it. I don't like seeing this storyline of the rape. Like, this is really sad and upsetting. Not that I'm mad at the show for deciding to do this. Like, I think that they will hopefully handle it well. We'll see. They didn't handle Cassidy so well, but I'll withhold judgment here. But yeah, Keith being in like mortal danger immediately. I wasn't expecting that either. So I guess we'll see. Also, no Weevil this episode, and I am dying to know what happened with him. All right, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you to, who was it? Agnes. Agnes for commissioning this episode. Thank you, Agnes. Thank you, Rachel, for commissioning another one. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will be seeing you all again on the 31st. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.